And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor, and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Hallelujah.
Abba Yahuwah, we thank you for this great, glorious Sabbath, Abba. We thank you for giving us all safe travels here. The enemy is on his game, Abba, but you have instilled in us a desire to want to worship you and to give you all honor, glory, and praise. Abba, the enemy is throwing darts at us, trying to do little things, physical, spiritual, and mental. But yet, Abba, you have strengthened us against the wiles of the enemy. You have encamped your angels around us, and we thank you, Abba, for your protection. Abba, we honor you. We honor you with the fruit of our lips. We honor you with the offerings of our praise. We offer you with the offerings of our determination to want to be with you. But we are not perfect, but we are striving for your perfection. For you alone are perfect, but we are striving to be like you. Abba, teach us. Help us to get along with one another. Help us to correct one another with love. Help us to be able to dwell in the word together, not as enemies, but together as a family. Help us to understand, Abba, that no one person has all the answers, and that is why you have told us in your word. We know in part. Each person has a part to play in this life that we have. Each person has a part to play in the gathering of your harvest. Each person has a part to play. So in part, we know. That is why we have to come together. This is why we cannot forsake the assemblies, so that we can sharpen one another, so we can help teach one another, so we can help guide one another, hold each other accountable. But we thank you for giving us words of gentleness. We thank you for giving us words of exhortation, and we thank you for the words of rebuke that comes in love. For Abba, the word says, you chastise those whom you love. Thank you for loving us, Abba. We feel that chastisement when we are wrong. We thank you because you have not turned us over to a reprobate mind. If we do something that is not like you, you put it, you instill that in us so that we can reflect and repent. Help us to repent, Abba Yah. Help us to see those things that we don't see. That spot, that blemish that is hidden from our eyes, you can bring that forth, Abba Yah. That we be able to correct ourselves and then come before you and correct our issues with where the sin lied, and then come and correct ourselves with you. We bless and we praise your holy name. Let the word that comes forth today, Abba, be of your spirit, be of the Ruach HaKodesh, not of our personal lips or our personal ideas or our personal vendettas or our personal opinions, but let your word, which is fact, flow from the lips of the orator today, Abba Yah. We bless and we praise your holy name. In the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah. Let it be so.
Man, Shabbat Shalom, y'all. How y'all doing? Man, highlight of my week. As always, I'm just happy to be here. Happy to have made it through the week. It was a long week for me. But there's something to be said about not bearing a burden on the Shabbat, not kindling a fire on the Shabbat. There's something to be said about that. Like truly getting that rest, tapping into Abba. Like truly something to be said about it. And I'm just thankful that I can enjoy that with y'all. So yeah, all praises. We going off of the beaten path today. We starting something different. This is like anybody that's been studying with me for a while know I do this from time to time. Like I'll kind of throw a little mini in between a bigger series, a little mini series will be in the middle of it, and then we'll get back. So I mean, we'll get back to rebuilding the temple. We will, Abba willing, we will. But before that, let's take a little pause from that and a break, if that's all right. So today is Gird your loins. This is part one. It'll probably be 2 parts to this, and then we'll get back whenever it's on me to get back to that. That's when what we'll do. All right, so the scriptures expressed in this study are those of the author and not my own. Viewer discretion is advised. Guidelines for the lesson: we want to let all things be done with decency and order, so these will help us all better serve one another. So these lessons are intended to be interactive, so please ask all questions / statements in the microphone so everyone can hear you. We want to be mindful of the time, so please limit responses to roughly 60 seconds or less. This will give others an opportunity to ask questions and give input. We want to stay on topic. If you have questions that do not pertain to the topic of the lesson, please hold those until after the study. This will help us better serve your question and give it the proper attention it deserves. And if we move on from a point and you don't get a chance to ask your question or make your statement, if by the end of the study it still hasn't been addressed, please hold this to the end of the study and we can revisit it. All right, so Hebrews 4:11. Every time y'all see me, we hit this. Let us therefore do our utmost to enter into that rest, lest anyone fall after the same example of disobedience. Really, 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 really important, y'all. Like, that we keep our mind set on where we going. Like, what is the end destination of this? Because if we take our eyes off of that rest, before you get to the rest, you just might take your hand off the plow and stop working. So you got to have a reason to and know what you're working for. If you understand that everything you sow, you will reap. It's going to give you the motivation that you need to, hey, let me keep on at this. Let me keep on at this. Because eventually, the work I'm putting in now, in its appropriate and proper season, I'm going to reap the benefit. I'm going to reap the reward from it. But if you don't understand what you're working towards, and if you don't understand that what you sow is what you reap, then what's the point of sowing? Because you don't get a payoff when you sow. You only get the payoff when you reap. Be mindful of what you sow. If you sow something bad, what's going to come up? Something bad, right? Mashiach himself said that, what about a tree? You know a tree by its fruit. And no evil tree can produce what? So every seed that you sow, eventually you're going to reap something from it. Whether good or bad. He gave us all free will. The choice is yours. Just be mindful of the times that we're in. Because ain't none of us guaranteed tonight. They say not guaranteed tomorrow. Ain't none of us guaranteed tonight. Just something to keep in mind. Think about. For the word of Elohim is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even to the dividing of being and spirit and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart. So that means that whatever you sow, don't consider it a strange thing when now you reaping what you sowed. And one thing's for sure and another thing's for certain. He's the one person you cannot fool. That's all of us. There is no creature hidden from his sight, but all are naked and laid bare before the eyes of him with whom is our account. So these lessons are not directed at any one person or group, but are intended to be edifying and useful to all who have joined themselves to the covenant of Yahuwah. The Father is impartial and none can avoid him, even the person who is tasked with presenting the lesson. And really, I should say, especially the person that is tasked with presenting this lesson, right? Which is me, myself. So we are all held to this standard, and none of us are above his ways or corrections or reproofs. Romans 2:1. Therefore, O man, you are without excuse, everyone who judges, for in which you judge another, you condemn yourself, since you who judge practice the same wrongs. And we know that the judgment of Elohim is according to truth against those who practice such wrongs. And do you think, O man, you who judge those practicing such wrongs and doing the same, that you shall escape the judgment of Elohim? It's a rhetorical, right? Because the judgment is according to truth. So when it comes to the Father, it just is what it is. So let me ask y'all a question. What do y'all see? Okay, a cat climbing a tree. Both sides. I mean, both are showing the same thing. Okay, so one has confidence, one is showing fear. Okay. All right, so one's at the bottom, one's at the top.
Okay, so the cat that's climbing the tree, destined to get up there. But then when he's up there, oh snap, I'm scared, fearful. I thought I wanted this, but now I'm scared, or I needed this, but now I feel like I'm not able or strong enough to really get to what I need to get to, or maybe continue the fight.
All praises.
Oh, okay. Yahuwah was it. Yeah.
All praises.
All praises. All praises. So, just looking at this, I mean, we all said it. Like, it's easy to sometimes the start of a thing.
Could it be, if I'm looking at both, if the cat on the left climbed up top and now he's at the top and now he's exhausted?
All praises. All praises. So you can easily find yourself going into a situation. You start off with steam, right? Determined. So just a side thought. Well, why does this happen? Like, because is it a thing like where, like what Mashiach said, count the cost? Like, you don't want to be the one that's starting a task and then midway through realize like, oh, I didn't have what it takes to finish it. And now you stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? So again, just keep this in mind. The lesson is called Gird Your Loins. The spirit of this is pretty much in line with what we're looking at here on these pictures.
Now it just reminded me, when I was younger, go to Kings Island. Like, oh, I'm about to get on the roller coaster, and then when you get all the way up to the hill, you're like, oh, mama, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's when I see that cat. He going up and down. So you see his tail wagging. He happy, and he get all the way up to the top. He looking down like, woo. I got a hut. He ain't using his claws anymore. You see, he got his arms wrapped around it now. He terrified. Yeah, it just popped in my mind.
All praises, like radio pollution, but humor me for a second. Like they say, everybody gangster till the guns come out. Like, so just look at that spiritually and ask yourself, how many times have you been in these shoes? All right, so today we are going to be looking at girding our loins and what this means for us today. So many times we find ourselves in situations where we feel overwhelmed, discouraged, sick and tired, or defeated. Sometimes this is because of our own foolishness / ignorance or weaknesses, and sometimes this comes from external circumstances that come upon us. However, in both cases, we will see that there is something that we have to do to arm ourselves when we find ourselves in these situations, right? So again, just keep all of this in mind, because something tells me we all know the feeling. And we've all been there, done that. Some of us might be there right now, right? So, question. How many times have you had a desire to accomplish something, but something happened and you did not accomplish what you set out to do? Like, goes back to that counting the cost thing, right? Like, how many times have you, and I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. I don't know how many, it might have been last month, we was talking about vows and oaths and keeping them, right? It's so easy to rashly speak a thing, and then now it's you in the trenches and it's like, what have I done? Uh-oh. And sometimes sometimes it takes a while for you to get to that point. Because nobody has the button on when the Father is going to send them trial and test. It wouldn't be a trial or test if you had the say so of when, right? Like, no, this is a pop quiz. So you don't know when that time is gonna come. All you know is that it will come. So these may include spiritual goals, general life goals, relationship goals, physical / learning goals, etc. Goals. Now ponder on this for a moment. How many times did you fail because you either operated out of a false core belief, such as fear, anxiety, self-justification, or did you stay true to a true core belief, disobedience, having a double mind? Like, how many times have these things been the thing that got you off the path? Started off with all this steam, and then when the time got tough, like, you got. So again, like I keep saying, keep all of this in mind. So as it pertains to battle, before I get there, I'm gonna say this. So when this happens, we are often left feeling defeated, fed up, demoralized, and ultimately discouraged from trying again. How many of us have been there? I'm gonna do boom, 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 New Year's resolution. And let's just say New Year according to the world, because that's one of their traditions, right? January 1, New Year's resolution, full of steam. January 30, try again next year. All praises. It don't take long, right? Like to lose steam, especially when it's something that you didn't count the cost on. Like it's something that you got to really dig deep in. And like they say, there's a difference between discipline and motivation. Like you need discipline when you lack motivation. Like, cause motivation is just like happiness and sadness and any other emotion. Like it comes and it goes. It's like a wind or a wave. But discipline and determination, are you willing to push through even when you don't feel like it? Now, this is the thing that really determines a person's character and virtue, right? And I remember, what was that, 6 months ago, Messiah went over the lesson on virtue. Like, who are you really when nobody is looking? What do you really believe in when there is nobody, or you think there is nobody there to keep you accountable? Are you honest when nobody's there to keep you honest? Right? And sometimes we just like the cat. We think we are until we get in the throes of it, and then it's like, this ain't really what I wanted. I mean, I know I asked for this, but not like this. But then, like I was saying, there's a such thing called sowing and reaping. Every time that you turn away from doing something that you know you're supposed to be doing, you're going to reap the fact that you put it down, right? And when that happens, then you do what? Man, I knew I should have, and if I would have, man, I'd be here by now. But because I put it down, back at square one.
Okay. It says, when this happens, we are often left feeling defeated, fed up, demoralized, and are ultimately discouraged from trying again. Could this be because of past trauma? I think we heard Messiah talked about this and the trauma that we go through, whatever. And sometimes you get to a point and you feel like you can't go no further. It's because you got in your mind, I'm about to fail again. I don't even want to try no more. And so you stop moving.
All praises. Absolutely. And I'm not going to go into depth on that because that's where we're going. So as it pertains to battle, what does it mean to gird your loins? Any takers, if any?
Prepare yourself for battle.
Okay. Yeah, let the people in the back hear you.
Prepare yourself for battle.
All praises. Preparing yourself for battle. Put your armor on. All praises.
Put on the proper armor, making sure your vest is nice and tight, making sure that you have your leg pads available, everything that you're going to need to actually walk into a battle. And walking into the battle, making sure that you have enough ammo to fight the battle with, as well as a well-equipped weapon.
All praises. Now, mind you, this is all stuff you do before you step your foot on the battlefield, right? Okay. All praises. All praises.
This is a daily walk, consistent walk. Stay ready. You ain't got to get ready.
All praises. Maisha, I can tell you, I say that all the time.
I was going to say emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, all of it. Because you can have the armor on or the proper clothing, but still be like not prepared everywhere else.
That's a big one. All praises. All praises. So these failures can lead us to believe in a falsehood and accept it as a core belief. This is where our faith needs to come in to play. So today we'll see how faith and works work together and balance each other in you. So this is a battle that is fought and won within. All right, so to understand this, we have to consider ancient Hebrew apparel and how it functioned on the wearer. All right, so I don't know how well y'all can see the pictures, but That's how we used to dress, right? And this is literally where, remember, Hebrew is a action language. So like they can interact with the things that they are talking about. There's a physical attachment to it. So Hebrew is less abstract first, but more concrete. So literally when we're talking about gird your loins, like today we use it almost 100% of the time in the abstract. But in Hebrew, in ancient times, rather, like it was first physical, and then that by seeing that, it became something, they got a spiritual understanding from it. Okay, so what did they used to wear and how did it look, right? So H3801, a cotonet, that's what they would call the garments in ancient times, cotonets. From an unused root meaning to cover. Compare H3802, it's a shirt, a coat, a garment, or a robe. Brown Driver's Briggs lexicon, it's a tunic, an undergarment, a long shirt-like garment, usually of linen. All right, so on the bottom, like I said, I don't know how well y'all can see it, but there's a brother there. He has on a cotonet all the way down to his knees. Upper right-hand corner there is the Beni Hassan relief. And you see people wearing, the clothes that they used to wear. A long garment down to their knees. That's what they wore, right? Let me ask y'all this. How easy is it going to be for you to fight on the battlefield with a garment down to your knees or longer? It ain't going to be very easy, right? All right, so now we're going to see why and where the term gird your loins comes from. So these were long garments, generally at least knee length, that were worn by both men and women in ancient times. So the priestly garments were cotonets. So we see that these were worn in the days of Samuel by both men and women. In both of the following cases, the highlighted word is H3801, cotonet. So speaking of David's daughter Tamar, 2 Samuel 13 and 18, and she had on a long coat, for the sovereign's maiden daughters wore such garments, and his servant put her out and bolted the door behind her, right? So here in this case, women are wearing a cotonet. Speaking of David's friend Hushai the Archite, 2 Samuel 15 and 32, and it came to be that David came to the summit where he bowed himself before Elohim and saw Hushai the Archite coming to meet him with his robe torn and dust on his head. Same word, H3801, cotonet, right? So I say all that to say that girding your loins in a spiritual sense, this isn't, men and women gonna both have their own battles to fight, and they both gonna have cases where they might need to gird their loins. Let me just put it like that. So because of the long length of these garments, one would need to gird their loins to prevent the garment from getting in their way or limiting their movement. So not girding one's loins could cause tripping, falling, or damage to the garment. Keep in mind, many did not have several sets of clothing as we do today. So articles of clothing were very hard to come by, and it was expensive to purchase. So many did not have any more than a couple sets of clothes, and the poor barely had one garment. So keep in mind the significance of Joseph's coat of many colors in this context, and Matthew 25 and 35, right? So today, a coat with a bunch of colors on it is not a big deal, right? Everybody's clothes got whatever you want to look like, that's what you can look like. Right? But in their day, having a coat of many colors is something that is significant. And this is a sign of royalty. This is a sign of, like, not everybody can afford this. So, yeah, this is not common at all. Like, so this is a significant thing. And it's like, oh, so why is he getting this treatment? Like, one garment with many colors on it. So Exodus 22 and 26, if you take your neighbor's garment, this is the word sama, as a pledge at all, you are to return it to him before the sun goes down, for that is his only covering. So again, in ancient times, it's not uncommon to only have one set of clothes. So now girding your loins might be important in a physical sense, because you're not trying to get this garment messed up. It's the only one you got. It is his garment, his simla for his skin. What does he sleep in? So, and it shall be when he cries to me, I shall hear, for I show favor. So now, I was telling y'all about a katonet. This is a different word here. This is a simla, okay? Two different articles of clothing, and they have different purposes, okay? Isaiah 58:6, is this not the fast that I have chosen, to loosen the tight cords of wrongness, to undo the bands of the yoke, to exempt the oppressed, and to break off every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out, when you see the naked and cover him, and not hide yourself from your own flesh? Again, this is something that's important to the Most High, because it's not uncommon in those days to not have clothing. So if you are fortunate enough to have more clothing, hey, deal this out to the naked, because they don't have anything, right? So again, girding your loins was something that was important to them in their day, because when you have clothes, you take care of them and you want them to last as long as they possibly can. So now, a simla. All right, so first H8008, it's clothes, a garment, raiment, a dress, right? Now, it says a dress, but literally we saw that this is talking about your neighbor. This is your brother, right? So you see how the English can sometimes get you in trouble. I'm gonna just put it that way. Sometimes the English can get you in trouble. H8071, a simla. Perhaps by permutation for the feminine of H5566, through the idea of a cover assuming the shape of the object beneath, a dress, especially a mantle, apparel, cloth, a garment, raiment, right? Again, this is a universal term that's used for both sides of the coin, right? So I don't know how well y'all can see it again, but in the upper corner, you see an example of someone who has on a katonet underneath, and then they will have this robe or this cloak, if you will, that goes over the top, called a simla. So the simla is the thing that he's sleeping in. He's using it as a blanket. He's using it as an overcoat. He's in the middle of the desert. He's using it as a shield to shield his face, to keep the sun off of him. That's the simla. And then the katonet is like your undergarment. That's like your shirt, right? That's on your body. But in some cases, you have an individual who might not have a katonet. All they got is the simla. They gird their loins, and then they got the simla, and they gonna tie a rope around them and keep that on them, right? So now it's like, if you see somebody that's in hard times and you pledge this, saying, "Hey, take my simla," you're like, what else is he going? This is the simla for his skin. He's dependent on this. What is he gonna sleep in? When he lay down at night, he ain't gonna have a blanket, right? So there's a multi-purpose garment, if you will, that they would use. So, girding your loins. And in both of those pictures, right, we see like these mugs going down long, right? So if I'm out on the battlefield, man, I ain't, like, I'm toast. So girding your loins, this is how you would gird your loins up, right? You gonna take your long garment and you gonna fold it up and wrap it. So now instead of it being a long garment, now you got some shorts on, right? Now you got some mobility, you can move, right? This is girding your loins. Nah. Watch out, right? So to gird one's loins, to prepare oneself for something difficult or challenging, right? That's the Oxford Dictionary definition. So just consider regular tasks such as running or riding an animal, such as a donkey, without the loins girded. Real hard to ride your animal without your loins girded. Real hard to get down in. Just the other day I'm trying to get my garden right. It's hard enough. Imagine trying to do that with something like that on. And then on top of that, you ain't trying to get it messed up because it's the only one you got. Right? So girding your loins, this is something that in ancient times, like, no, this is gird your loins. You want to do something that's difficult, challenging, something where you need to protect your garment from spot, wrinkle, blemish. You need to know how to gird your loins. You need to know how to gird your loins for battle. So, again, I don't know how well y'all can see it, but notice that how the man's loins are girded in the picture on that ain't the left, that's the right, but it's okay. Girding the loins can indicate readiness, alertness, and preparedness. This would be done in anticipation of action where one would need to be able to respond quickly, right? So Exodus 12 and 11, we just came out of Pesach, right? And this is how you should eat it. How? Your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is the Passover, the Pesach of Yahuwah. And I shall pass through the land of Mizraim on that night, and shall strike all of the firstborn of the land of Mizraim, both man and beast. And on all of the mighty ones of Mizraim I shall execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. So now, why was they told to keep their loins girded? It's time to stay ready. You ain't got to get ready. It's time to move, right? So that way, when y'all see it happening, like, you ain't scrambling. Like, nah, eat this. You got your shoes on. You ready for action because it's coming, right? Exodus 12 and 50, and all the children of Israel did as Yahuwah commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. And it came to be on that day that Yahuwah brought the children of Israel out of the land of Mizraim according to their divisions. Now, when you look at that word divisions, in Hebrew, it's Sabaoth, host or armies. So although the people of Israel weren't looking at themselves as an army, the Father is. He's going out in battle before them. Like he said, hey, I'm going to fight against Mizraim and their Elohim. Y'all are being arranged in these camps like a battalion, like troops. That's how he's looking at us. So from day one, we're supposed to have our mindset that what? Be prepared to fight. That's what this wilderness was all about. Taking them through the wilderness in the way that they did because they were not ready for a battle. I'm going to prepare you along the way. He said, no, don't take them across the way of the Philistines because if they see that, they're going to turn back. Philistines wasn't nothing to play with in those days. They had giants and everything. But let me take you through this way, give you a little bit of time, and we'll take it one step at a time, battle for battle, battle for battle, until y'all learn war. Mind you, when they was in that wilderness, did their garments go out? Did their sandals wear out? So he kept them sharp for battle and ready for battle through the whole time in the wilderness. So this is very practical, concrete action of girding one's loins for work or battle. Later came to be used abstractly with regard to one's mental state as a metaphor, right? So 1 Peter 1 and 3, blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Master, Yahushua Mashiach, who according to his great compassion has caused us to be born again to a living expectation through the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach from the dead to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled and unfading, having been kept in the heavens for you, who are protected by the power of Elohim through belief for deliverance ready to be revealed in the last time. in which you exult, even though for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by manifold trials. So just hold on to that word trials. In order that the proving of your belief, much more precious than gold that perishes and proven by fire, might be found to result in praise and respect and esteem at the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, whom having not seen, you love, in whom you exult with unspeakable and esteemed joy, yet not seeing, but believing, obtaining the goal of your belief, a deliverance of lives. Concerning this deliverance, the prophets have sought out and searched out, prophesying concerning the favor for you, searching to know what sort of time the spirit or ruach which was in them was pointing out concerning Mashiach, when it was bearing witness beforehand the sufferings of Mashiach and the esteems that would follow, to whom it was revealed that they were serving not themselves but you in these matters, and now have been announced to you through those who brought the good news to you by the set apart ruach sent from the Shamayim, into which messengers long to look into. Therefore, having girded up the loins of your mind, so now we see how it's having a spiritual meaning, right? Being sober, set your expectation perfectly upon the favor that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, as obedient children, not conforming yourselves to the former lust and your ignorance. Instead, as the one who called you is set apart, so you also should become set apart in all behavior, because it has been written, be set apart, for I am set apart. So I don't know if I said look at the picture, but y'all see that the Egyptian man, all he's in is his loincloth, if you will, right? Like his loins girded up, and he got the little special Egyptian weapon in his hand, and he ready for battle, right? Always ready. Loins girded. Slaves and farming. Loins always girded. Always ready to get to it, right? Spiritually. Always be ready to get to it. Because the trials, tribulation, challenges, tests, it's coming. It's why he tells us in Proverbs, like, store up, because poverty is right around the corner. Might not be here right now, but it's coming. Ephesians 6:10, for the rest, my brothers, be strong in the master and in the mightiness of his strength. Put on the complete armor of Elohim for you to have power to stand against the schemes of Hashatan. Because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against authorities, against the world rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual matters of wickedness in the heavenlies. Because of this, take up the complete armor of Elohim, so that you have power to withstand in the wicked day, and having done all, to stand. Stand then, having girded your waist with truth. Again, girding your loins. But they got to be girded with what? Truth. Why do you got to gird your loins with truth? Because it might come a point in time where your reality is shaken, right? You're going to have to lean on the truth, because the flesh is going to lead you in every other which way. But we know that in Hebrew, the word for truth, it means that it's something stable, sturdy, right? It's not going to move on you. That's how we plant our house on a rock. It ain't going to move. The truth just is what it is. And you either on this side of the truth or that side of the truth. Again, the choice is yours, but the truth isn't changing regardless of how you feel. So this is, again, like Psalm 15, where it's talking about, blessed is the man that he keeps an oath even to his hurt, right? This is the man that'll never be moved, because, hey, I said that I'm going to do this. I'm in the process, and now I'm carnally speaking, I have every reason not to. But the truth is, this is what I vowed. This is what I said I'm going to do. That's the truth. So let me lean on that.
I would say the truth help establish your faith.
Absolutely.
So your faith is built on truth. So if you have truth, then your faith should be elevated. Just like I would think about David and Goliath. You know, he was built on truth and faith. And he had no other weapons but a slingshot.
Mm-hmm.
But his faith, the truth that he believed in, which instituted his faith, he had no fear of Goliath.
Mm-hmm. All praises. Now keep in mind that he desires truth where? On the inward parts. Sometimes it also says in Proverbs that, you know, the heart of a man is like a deep well of water. A man of understanding will draw it out. Sometimes it's things that's in you that you don't even know is there. So here comes test and trial. Draw it out. Right? Because you got to get the truth in your inward parts. So it says, stand then, having girded your waist with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having fitted your feet with the preparation of the good news of peace. Above all, having taken up the shield of belief, with which you shall have power to quench all the burning arrows of the wicked one. Take also the helmet of deliverance and the sword of the spirit of Ruach, which is the word of Elohim, praying at all times with all prayer and supplication in the Ruach, watching in all perseverance and supplication for all the set apart ones. So, how can we gird up the loins of our mind to fight the spiritual and mental battles within ourselves? All praise the truth of his word, right? Like literally you're going to have to lean on that because, and not on your own understanding, because if you don't, who knows where you might end up, where that train is going to carry you off to. But when we lean on his word, right? Like, okay, now we putting the truth in our inward parts. No flesh. It sound good, but that don't make sense in the long run. Right now, I got to lean on the truth. Truth of the matter is this.
Yea, though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death. Yea, though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. So you have to believe what he just told you, his truth, in order for you to walk through this valley or go through these turmoils to be able to come out on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to establish your faith on the truth of his word. Yeah.
All praises. Faith cometh by what? Hearing of the what?
That's why Isaiah 26:3 and elders spoke about it. Faith, trust, but thou would keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee because he trusteth in thee. So learning how to fight the battle, you have to learn how to apply the word to get instructions how to fight the battle.
All praises. All praises.
You talked about storing up that the produce for later on, right? So this is Proverbs 22. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil. Here's the definition for prudent. It says, acting with or showing care, thought for the future. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So if you ain't preparing, then you walking blindly. Mm-hmm. You go walk into that fire. You go walk into some trouble. Mm-hmm. But the prudent man who's preparing himself for later on, even when somebody come and ask you a question, you are already ready to give an answer.
Mm-hmm. All praises. So we don't see that a lot of times the battle is made a little bit more difficult than it has to be because we didn't gird our loins. We weren't prepared for the battle. So now we scrambling, the fiery dart shooting at us, and you can't move and get active. You getting shot up because your loins weren't girded. When you try to move, now you stumbling, right?
It's like having a conversation, a surprise conversation about the scriptures, and someone starts asking you questions. If your mind is not, if you're not already prepared, it's about to mess you up. You're gonna be stumbling. You're gonna. I mean, as a kid, my friends would be like, they ask me questions, and I would call my dad. Dad, what do you think about this? And he's shooting the scriptures. But now that I know how to gird my mind up and know how to stay in that lane, so when the adversary comes with a word that's not scriptural, but it's their understanding, oh, I got something for that.
Mm-hmm. All praises. All praises. So what does it mean for you to fight the good fight? Like, we talking about girding up our loins for battle. Like, well, what is the good fight, and what does it mean for you to fight that good fight? Like, you got to know what that means for you. Like, you got to know what the Father means by it, and then you got to know how to apply it in your life.
I'm sorry, but for me, what it means to fight the good fight, in boxing, people would think that Floyd Mayweather was he's not that good because he don't get hit.
Mm-hmm.
To fight the good fight, when we go through situations, let's come out with no blemishes.
All praises. All praises.
In order to do that, you have to do what? You got to be fluent with the word, with the truth. It's got to be stored up in you to use for a reserve when you come across these different things that you're gonna run across. So if you're just a simple-minded person and not really then you're just leaning on what somebody told you, it's gonna be difficult for you to fight off these darts. 'Cause the more you're established in the word and the truth, the better your defense is and your offense is.
All praises. I've hidden your word in my heart that I might not do what? Sin against thee. All praises.
So how I gird up the loins of my mind is what it says here in 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5, casting down those imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Hamashiach, and having that readiness to revenge all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Because jumping back up to verse 3 and 4, though we walk in the flesh, we don't war after the flesh. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Elohim to the pulling down of these strongholds. So that's how I try to keep my mind at peace, because intrusive thoughts do come, and they'll cause you to doubt or be discouraged or not feel like you can go on. So when those thoughts come, you have to replace them with, what does the script say? This is what my flesh is saying and what the natural circumstances are saying. What does the Father say about this and about me? So
all praises. Wait till y'all see the next slide. That's where we're going next. So all praises. Like, go ahead.
Just one verse, Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the endurance of the set apart ones. Here are they guarding the commandments of Elohim and the belief of Yahusha. So endurance. You got to endure until the end. That's how you fight the good fight.
All praises. That's the only way. Like, those who endure just for a little while, is that who sees the salvation, who's saved, or is it he who endures to the end?
What Sis just said and what you were talking about, you get those calls when you were younger, you had to call your dad. I'm going to read down a little bit further in Proverbs, right? So it says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and is punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the forward. He that do keep his soul shall be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's that foundation. Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, that's that foundation. You train up. If you're training your child in that way, you know, yeah, he gonna run into some troubles later on in life, but how's he gonna get over that hump? What sis just said. Going back to the law, statutes, and commandments. These instructions. This is how I get over things. This is how I gird myself for the war. What is thy truth? The law is thy truth.
All praises. All praises. So 2 Timothy 4 and 5, it says, but you be sober in all matters. So what is a sober mind going to have you to do? Suffer hardships. But if you're drunken with emotion, are you going to suffer the hardship? But if you're sober in mind and you leaning on this truth, that gives you what you need to be able to suffer. You see how it's all connected? Do the work of an evangelist. Accomplish your service completely. Why is he telling them that? Accomplish your service completely. Keep your eyes set on that prize, because it's going to come those moments where it's going to be hard to see the goal. Keep your mind sober. Keep your loins girded. Because if you don't, it's going to be plenty of incentive along the way to challenge why you doing what you doing. Man, what's the point? What's the purpose? Every time I do good, I don't get repaid anything but evil anyways. So why do good? But if you understand the goal and what you're working for, then you're going to keep reaping the good, because you know eventually you will, or it's sowing the good because eventually you will reap it. Choose life. All praises. He says, for I am already being poured out, and the time of my departure has arrived. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have guarded the belief. For the rest, we was talking about that rest earlier, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the master, the righteous judge, shall give to me on that day. And not to me only, but also to all those loving his appearing. So this is what we keeping our mind set on, knowing that, man, no matter what happens here, we all get the same 24 hours, and who knows what might pop off in them 24 hours. But we can hold on to the belief, because we know that at the end of this thing, there is a kingdom that we have citizenship. We got a right to, if we remain in the belief. If we endure to the end. If we maintain this thing, keep fighting this good fight, eventually we're going to reap the reward. We're going to see the victory. My mother used to tell me, man, you know, nothing beats a failure but a try. The only way you're going to lose in this thing is if you stop fighting. That's it. So the phrase, I have fought the good fight, comes from 2 Timothy 4 and 7, where Paul reflects on his life's work and his impending death. It signifies a successful struggle in the faith, specifically enduring persecution and preaching the gospel. It's like what Mashiach used to look at the 12 and be like, man, oh, you of little faith. This man is looking back at the end of his life. He's on his deathbed. And what they don't tell you is that this impending death, that he wasn't dying of old age. He wasn't sick and dying of old age. He's about to be tried, and he's about to be killed, executed. And in the face of that, and this is for righteousness' sake, right? He's being persecuted for righteousness' sake. And he's looking at it and saying, man, you know what, though? Was it worth it? Absolutely. Hey, I done fought the good fight because I know what's on the other side of this. Father ain't got, I know the work I done put in. I know what he promised me if I put this work in. And I trust that he gonna hold true to what he said. He done showed me too many times leading up to this point. So that's what this is about. But in order to keep getting up and fighting, you gotta gird your loins. Stuff that they was going through, like Ox says, things we be going through, light afflictions compared to that. It's one thing to suffer wrong because you did wrong. It's one thing for somebody to want to kill you because you did wrong. It's a whole nother thing because you just defending the Father and his goodness and showing that goodness to others. To be persecuted for that and to still feel like it's worth it and to keep doing it and putting yourself on the battlefield, putting your life on the line for it. It signifies a successful struggle in the faith, specifically enduring persecution and preaching the good news or the gospel. The phrase is often used to express a sense of accomplishment and perseverance, particularly in the face of hardship. This is where the wheat is divided from the tare. This is where the cream rises to the top. He gonna find out and see, is this really what you about or not? And if you not, he's even merciful and compassionate enough to give you an opportunity. Okay, you see where you ain't and where you lacking. Get it together. So this refers to the ongoing spiritual battle against sin, temptation, and adversity as described in 2 Timothy 4:7 and other passages. The phrase signifies Paul's unwavering commitment to spreading the good news or gospel and his perseverance in the face of opposition and suffering. It serves as an encouragement for believers to persevere in their own faith journey, even when faced with challenges. Paul also speaks of the crown of righteousness that awaits him, which is a reward for his faithfulness. So at some point, if you stop girding your loins and you stop fighting that good fight, what is it saying? You stop believing that the fight was worth it. And if you stop believing that the fight was worth it, then that means what? You don't believe in the reward that he's promising. And this might be a momentary thing. This might be a forever thing, right? We're all of us are human in here. And that means, with that being said, lapses in judgment occur. But the difference is between the reprobate and the person who's trying to operate in righteousness is, no, the righteous, he might fall 7 times, but he's going to keep getting back up. The reprobate, just keep getting worse. Going to use the grace that they've been shown as an opportunity to sin all the more, right? So if you let me get away with that, can I push the limits to this? Can I get away with this? Big difference. They fighting a fight in that case. They're just putting up points for the wrong team, like Mashai would say, right? They fighting for the wrong side of the battlefield at that point. So 2 Corinthians 10:3, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not fight according to the flesh. For the weapons we fight with are not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing strongholds, overthrowing reasonings and every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, taking captive every thought to make it obedient to the Mashiach, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is complete. So now the question is, well, what is a stronghold? Again, we talk about gird your loins. We talk about fighting the spiritual fight. And what is a stronghold? And then what does a stronghold have to do with a reasoning or a high thought? So again, things for us to think about. And when we really start breaking it down, it brings color to the black and white, right? So a stronghold is a place that has been fortified so as to protect it against attack. A place where a particular cause or belief is strongly defended or upheld, right? So you see how the abstract is coming from the physical, right? These are quote unquote strongholds. The word there for stronghold, G3794, from a remote derivative of G2192, meaning to fortify, through the idea of holding safely, a castle, figuratively an argument, a stronghold, Okeruma, or Okeruma. So notice that the stronghold is a safe zone, right? So really what we talking about with strongholds is this is your safe zone. This is a place that a person runs to when they feel threatened or unsafe. So many of us look at this word as simply referring to a demon or like a demonic driven vice, right? That a person is controlled by, perhaps due to the influence of an unclean spirit. So while this might be true in some cases, it speaks more to a person's safe zone or comfort zone. So this is what a person turns to when they feel unsafe or need somewhere to escape to from a perceived threat, right? And in all of these cases, the vice serves as that, right? Like nobody wakes up and says, ooh, I want to be this when I grow up. But there's a lot of drug addictions and whatever else that people fall into. And usually, like Ak was bringing out earlier, it's a trauma that opened up the door to that, right? And if Yahuwah is not the stronghold, then something else becomes that stronghold, right? So this is your comfort zone. This is your house of refuge, right? There's an old saying, a lie told often enough becomes the truth. Now, we said that you got to gird your loins with what? With truth, right? But to the end, often enough can become the truth. It may as well be true to them. It's not the truth, but it's not the truth. They say history is his story. Proverbs talks about there's a matter that seems right until somebody come behind it and then they test it. A lie told often enough. It's still a lie. But somebody gonna believe it. So notice how these strongholds or comfort zones, these safe zones that we establish for ourselves can hinder us and hold us back from achieving the goals that we set out to accomplish. So these strongholds are safe zones, comfort zones that we set up in our own minds. So these are the things that we turn to when we feel vulnerable. Lying pastor, right? Instead of seeking the Father and, okay, well, if this is what he says, this is the truth, I'm gonna stick with that. But if something is jiving with something that already makes you feel comfortable or safe within you, justified, whatever the case may be, you will run to that and then not actually dealing with the truth head on and letting the Father be your stronghold.
You know, they say it's hard to shed strongholds. There's a saying, it's easier to lie to someone than to convince them they've been lied to. Because sometimes them things run far back, and this is the reason why, like now, even when people come into the truth, like you're constantly shedding stuff off, unlearning things to be able to learn.
All praises. It's a mouthful right there, Ak. So these very strongholds keep us from girding the loins of our minds. Remember, this is something that is reinforced or fortified in you through unconscious self-sabotage and the safety the stronghold makes you feel. The faulty reasonings and high thoughts preserve and protect the stronghold in you. And this puts you in a place where you do not fight against these things. Instead, you accept them as truths. In many cases, the stronghold is fled to while retreating from battle. While girding your loins for battle can denote leaving the place of safety to engage in combat. So two completely opposite things, right? Stronghold is the opposite of girding your loins, right? Are you still fighting a good fight? Hebrews 12:1. We too then, having so great a cloud of witnesses all around us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race set before us. So if it's easily entangling you, what does that mean? You ain't putting up much of a fight, right? Looking to the prince and the perfecter of our belief, Yahushua, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake, having despised the shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of Elohim. For consider him who endured such opposition from sinners against himself, lest you become weary and faint in your lives. You have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. He was not striving against sin, but against sinners. You mean to tell me that he can fight against sinners, keeping himself blameless, and we can't fight against our own sin? What are we really talking about? You of little faith.
It's like before really getting into the truth and just complacent. The stronghold was Christmas, Sunday worship. I could still eat pork. But then like really kind of got me was I could take college serious, chemistry, and really study for that, but I can't study for the word the same way. I can't make vocabulary words. I can't really study book for book, but I could do it for chemistry and for a college degree. So I think we should all like not rely on elders for our own personal belief, but actually study to show that it's self-approved.
Work out our own faith with fear and trembling. All praises. All praises. So a fortress, a military stronghold, especially a strongly fortified town, fit for a large garrison. So here's a question. What strongholds are you running to? And what are you running from? No, you ain't got to. You ain't got to. I mean, unless you want to, but I ain't forcing you to. Like, just something for us to really think about. What are you running to? And what are you running from? There's a lot of battles that we ought to be fighting that we give up on and we stop fighting. Stop fighting a good fight. Lack of faith is really what it is. Because at the end of the day, is the Father going to be like, so why you didn't XYZ? You know what I told you. You know what my word said. Well, I got tired. I was tired of, and he going to say, you was what? Like, is that going to be an excuse? I was tired. He told us that going into it. Hey, endure, gird your loins. It's going to be a fight. But he that endures to the end, he never said this was going to be easy. And anybody telling you it's going to be, they telling you a lie. They really probably ain't in the walk. If they telling you this is going to be a cakewalk.
Fear not, for I am with you. So what are you fearing?
Psalms 18. It says, I will love thee, O Lord, my strength. The Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. I will call upon the Lord, whom is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from my enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. I ain't gonna go no further, but man, that's our fortress.
All praises.
That's our house of refuge.
All praises.
When that wave come, we have that foundation. Your house ain't gonna get swept away. When that tornado comes, it's gonna stand strong, firm. Right, that tree we eat from, it's deeply rooted. It ain't going nowhere.
Like, it's like one of them things, like, you realize that the only way that you're going to lose in this is if you give up. As long as you keep holding on, like, it's a guaranteed win at the end. You don't have to go through it, but a lot of times what happens is people jump ship, right? Like, in the process, it's like, oh, this is looking shaky.
We down by 20.
Jump off into that water, and then it was like nothing but sharks and whatever other things was off in the water waiting on you to jump off, hiding below the surface, waiting for you to jump off. So in layman's terms, like, this walk with the Father is the same way.
Because usually when you a person running into trouble and we run into that wall, the first thing you want to do is go around it. You run right into another wall. You're not trying to break that wall down. You running around it, you run right into another wall. Mm-hmm. If you go through it and take care of it, usually we come to see it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say in a sports analogy, a lot of times when we play in sports, our job is to make the other team do what? We was bashing them so bad, we made them quit. Mm-hmm. And that's what the adversary, he's looking like, man, I got Brian so bad, man, he quit. Mm-hmm. If he would have stayed, we was tired. Mm-hmm. But we made him quit. Mm-hmm. And this is our mindset why we have to continue fighting the good fight. Because we understand no matter how tired and winded we might be, we already know the prize. We know if we continue to endure, man, we endure, we're going to be saved.
You would only know that if you read the book. I mean, I read the book. I know what the ending says. We win at the end.
Yes, sir.
So if you're going to endure to the end, you got to have faith that he's going to bring you through anything that you have to go through. Mm-hmm. It's all worth it at the end.
Mm-hmm. Those who wait on Yahuwah, it's those who he'll renew their strength. That's in Isaiah. All praises. So have you ever looked at yourself as a sluggard or as a lazy person?
Yes. Sometimes you can be both.
All praises.
You know, sometimes you get tired, bewildered, and then you have to girdle yourself back up. But to me, that always comes from reading his word, which will revigorate you or reestablish what you're lacking in. Mm-hmm. I thought I was going to say now. That's it for me.
All praises. Yeah. What about a procrastinator?
You know what? Because for me, like, I even do, reading the word. Like, I read something over and over, and it's not clicking. But then when it comes, it's like, now it done gave me more energy. Man, let me go through this. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I read, and I'll be sitting there like dozing off. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I done read this, and I'm about to put this up. But then when something clicking, it's like, oh, my goodness. I done read this about 1,000 times and never seen it, and that gave me that boost, and just keep on going and keep on studying. And dig, highly rejuvenated, and want to dig even deeper.
All praises. So consider this: if Yah is your stronghold, right? My bad. I'm gonna go back. So do you think having a stronghold or safe zone or comfort zone can make you lazy. All praises. Told out for that, Akko T. Consider this. If Yah is your stronghold, do you think it's possible that this can lead to you being lazy? Let me rephrase this. Not that he's holding you accountable, but can you trick yourself into?
Yes. You can become ease in Zion. You can.
That's how people fall asleep in church. Not just physically, but spiritually. Because in your mind, I'm in the Lord. I got the Spirit, and you doing the same thing religiously. And I hate to say every Sunday, but even on the Shabbat, you doing the same thing religiously, and you sitting there, and you not being fed, and you're spiritually falling asleep. You done got comfortable. I got it all. I done made it. You not examining yourself, because there's still some things within you that you need to get rid of in order to approach the Father. What you've been teaching week after week. How to approach the Father, how to come into the tabernacle to get further behind the next veil. So once you get comfortable and complacent, now you ain't even looking at that. You just walking.
So what is that? 1 Samuel chapter 5, chapter 6. They got to a point where they're fighting a battle. And at some point, it's like, well, we know we got that trump card. Hey, pass us them things. Let's get them. Where that thing at? Bring out the ark. They tricked themselves. But then it ended up getting to a point where the Father like,
That's right.
Me touch down and help y'all? I think not. Right? Now it's was me. What's done happened? All the while, no, it was a lot of things that was being done leading up to this point. Why now you in the midst of the battle and he's not fighting the battle for you. So it's easy. Sometimes we can lean on the Father as a crutch and start, again, like I've been saying, we can get into a place of where, yeah, he fights our battles and all of these things, but then we'll rely so heavily on that we forget that, no, the battle is ours for the taking. Like, there's work required out of us, right? Like, no, in the wilderness, he was with them. But Moses still had to hold his arms up. Like, they still had to gird up. This is what he was trying to show them to begin with. Like, no, I could just annihilate everything. Y'all don't have to see any of this. But I need y'all to learn war. I need you to learn how to fight. Then you'll put your trust in me, and I got you. What you can't do, I got you. But ain't no free lunch. No free meal tickets. Like, it don't work that way.
Sometimes you can be like a little kid. You go up to the beehive and you poking it, and then all the bees come out. You running, mama. You know what I'm saying? like the bees coming out. Yeah, because you did it. Now you in trouble. Now you calling on me.
So, do you consider yourself passive, and could this be a form of laziness? Again, y'all, like, stuff comes out of my own personal vault. Like, lukewarm, not wanting to fully commit, because just like with Jacob, right? Like, it's like he knew the Father. He had the Father. But yet there was still something in him that wanted him to be a supplanter. Still something in him like, well, yeah, but just in case the Father don't come through, I got this, I got that, I got this set up. Father had to work that out of him, right? Again, could this lead to us maybe getting ourselves in more problems than we have to be with the Father, because we not actually studying to show ourselves approved, actually putting ourselves, using wisdom to put ourselves where we're supposed to be, and we just relying on a parachute? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like, don't put them to the test. Prepare yourself ahead of time, then you won't need the parachute. But sometimes, we hard-headed, we got to learn. H6102, Otzel, what is a sluggard? It's indolent, slothful, to be a sluggard. From H61 or H6102 in the Brown Drivers Briggs. Sluggish, lazy, a sluggard, right? So to be sluggish, slugs move real slow. So that means I know that needs to be done. I know I need to deal with that, and I'm going to get to it, but not right now. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to ease into this. But the Father is like, now, because you better learn to number your days. Man is like the fading flower. One day is here, the next day is gone. Like, now is the time. But sometimes we give ourselves more time than what we really ought to be doing because we don't have no say over that. 86101, Atsal, to lean idly. So if you lean in idly, you know, and I worked at McDonald's way back, they had a saying like, if you can lean, you can clean. So you always supposed to be moving and doing something. But if you leaning idly, you just chilling and waiting for the next order to come up, right? Like, no, even in the downtime, you're supposed to be staying busy doing something, being productive. Again, we working during these 6 days so that we can get to the rest. The rest ain't now. We working trying to get to it. So stay diligent working so that you can get to the rest. But far too often, when we supposed to be working, we'll stop putting the work in and we'll ease up off the work, and now we leaning idly, being unproductive, unfruitful. The fig tree that didn't bear fruit. So it says to lean idly, that is to be indolent or slack, to be slothful. What does it mean to be indolent? All right, so wanting to avoid activity or exertion. Lazy. Y'all see how this is important when we're talking about trial, when we're talking about dealing with strongholds, when we're talking about dealing with the test, when we talk about endurance. I know that needs to be dealt with, but instead of dealing with it, I'm going to run to the stronghold because that provides me comfortability, safe zone. I'm going to let that sleeping dog lie. But all the while, the clock's still ticking. Like, time ain't stopped just because you don't want to deal with it. You just putting yourself more in the hole. That's it. In medicine, they use this term of a disease or condition causing little or no pain. So literally, you're running from the pain might be the thing that says, you know what, I know I'm supposed to do this, and I know that if I do this, this is good for me, but I'm going to put that off because I don't feel like dealing with that right now. And that list of what the thing could be is a host of things. It can be like we said earlier, New Year's resolution, quote unquote. Okay, this is a bad habit that I got. I need to change this. I need to work on this in me, right? I need to be more patient. I need to be whatever the case is. But instead of us putting in the work, we can put it to the side. But this is being a quote unquote sluggard. So now I want us to see how this works in us. Notice that the sluggard can be someone that has a pattern of avoiding certain things because of fear, not wanting to go through pain or discomfort, a person that does not want to leave their comfort zone, or a person lacking discipline. The sluggard does not have any endurance. So when they start a task, if they started at all, they do not endure and stay focused long enough to see the task completed. When things come a sluggard's way, they just let them have their way, saying that's just life. They just go through the motions of their day-to-day life. They are slow to move on things that they want or need to get done. So now pay attention to how those strongholds and faulty reasoning survive because of a sluggard mentality. So what I want us to see, or what I want us to take a look at, is this one verse in James just for a moment. So we'll come back to this a little bit later, not today, but I want us to keep in mind when it comes to our mentality, keep in mind when it comes to our mentality and how this verse correlates to being a sluggard. So also keep in mind what I said earlier about being passive. James 4:7. So then subject yourselves to Elohim. Resist Hashatan, resist the devil, and he shall flee from you. You got to put up a fight. If you don't put up the fight, where is he going to go? He going to stick to you. Instead of resist and he going to flee, he going to stick to you. But if you put up a fight, you are already told. Oh, he going to flee. Why? He can say this with confidence because the Father says, I'm going to make him flee. He can't stick around forever if you endure. But even with Daniel, we saw that in the book of Daniel when he said, hey, look, I was on my way, but I was hindered on my way because I had to put up and fight with the prince of Persia. Then after that, another is coming. Like, there are things that you might find yourself in a place where I'm calling out to the Father, but hey, yo, you need to endure. The deliverance is coming, but you got to endure until it comes. But if you don't take the fight seriously and you don't gird up your loins, expecting to wait for a while, not saying that you have to, that's up to him. Can't nobody call that. But set your mind just in case. I may have to wait a while. It might not come as quickly as I wanted to. So let me endure. I know this is the truth. This is the thing I'm supposed to be leaning on. I know this is the right thing. I know this is what the Father said. Let me keep leaning on that. No matter how bad it looks in the process. Let me keep leaning on that because this is what he told me. And I know that he ain't said nothing for naught. So let me trust him. Let me trust him. So often we want the instant gratification. And when we don't get the instant gratification, it's like, here come those reasonings that's exalting themselves against what the Father said. Oh, well, nah. When I thought about it, I thought it made more sense for me to do it like this. Is that him talking or is that you talking? Did he say that or did you say that? So these reasonings are faulty because they may as well be true for the sluggard because they have accepted something false as a core belief and they operate out of it. So this leads to excuse making and irrational behaviors. So Proverbs 20 verse 4, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. So he's supposed to be out there plowing. He's supposed to be out there getting to it, but he got an excuse for everything. Well, but it's too cold. I'm gonna get to it later when it warm up. But now's the season. This says the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore, he shall beg in harvest and have nothing. He wasn't sowing when he was supposed to be sowing. So then when it comes time to reap, he's found lacking. If you don't work, you don't eat. Counsel in the heart of a man is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Most men will proclaim everyone his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find? The just man walketh in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. So anybody can talk a good talk. Most men will. But the just man, he walks in his integrity. He's actually doing it. His children are blessed after him. That's him reaping a reward. A king that sitteth in the throne of judgment scattereth away all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have made my heart clean. I am pure from my sin. Maybe you only saying that because you ain't looking hard enough. Maybe you only saying that because it's work you ain't trying to put in. But to my estimation, it's probably always something. If it ain't something that's currently going on, it's something that you need to be girding your loins up from because at any minute, that door, somebody gonna come knock on it. That's what the adversary does. So guard yourself Even if you have overcome it, you don't want it to pop back up because it can happen. Next thing you know, the old man is in full effect. It's like, how did I get here? Proverbs 26:14. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so does the slothful upon his bed. He's supposed to be getting up, the alarm clock done went off, and he just turning. I'm about to get up. Turning. I'm about to get up. Turning. The slothful hides his hand in his bosom. It grieves him to bring it again to his mouth. You trying to eat, and instead of you eating, you gonna put it in your, and you just, it's too much work for you to feed yourself and do what's good for you. That's a sluggardly or a slothful mentality. Or in other words, spiritually, if you know that this is something that you're supposed to be doing for yourself, this is the work you need to be putting in on yourself to make you a better person, to bring you closer to the Father. Put that work in. Because at the end of the day, if you don't work, you don't eat. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. He has every reason that makes sense to him of why he's not going to put the work in. 7 men can come and tell him, hey, yo, well, you know, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. You know, you ought to be doing this right now because winter is coming. Got every reason. In his own mind, he's convinced. Because he knows what work he's going to put in and what he ain't. But again, Proverbs 20 verse 4, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Therefore he shall beg in the harvest and have nothing. He going to beg in the harvest and he's going to have nothing. Going to be found wanting. There ain't going to be nothing nobody can do to help you. 5 wise, 5 foolish.
That's what they say. Yeah.
All praises. It's easy to get complacent in this walk. They was virgins all waiting on the same thing. Some stayed diligent, some didn't. Some stayed preparing, some didn't. Then the moment came and they was found wanting. And the work that they didn't put in preparation is what got them X'd out of the kingdom.
It's like growing up, I know my father is 78 and he was hearing people saying, he's coming back. He's coming back soon. I've heard it all my life. Mm-hmm. He's coming back. He's coming back soon. Eventually there's going to be some people that's going to become lazy in their walk because I have time. Mm-hmm. Well, this hasn't happened yet, so I have time. Not putting in the work. Because we want to put in the work when things turn up. Now it's like when 9/11 took place, it's like everybody's going to church. So it's the same thing. But when things cool back down, then people they become lax. They become sluggard again.
And then we have to be careful because then it turns into, oh, woe is me, or I'm just waiting on the Father and being patient. But no, that's not the right. Or you can say, you can think that really and truly it's like you think you're not supposed to be here, but you could have prepared before. So it's like I'm waiting on the Father, or, oh, well, the Father will fix it. But really, no, you could have fixed it. You could have prevented it, and you can fix it if you see, okay, no, the error in your ways. We always want to say the Father this. It's true, but make sure you're doing your part, so that you can be able to receive the blessings.
It's one thing to suffer for righteousness' sake. It's a whole nother to suffer for something that you done wrong. 2 completely different things, and sometimes we conflate the 2 and mix them, and it's like not the same thing.
But being complacent even with the whole COVID thing that just happened, Yeah, I'm just take their word for it. I'm gonna go get these 2 shots in the booster, or 6 boosters, or whatever it is now. But just making sure we go girding our loins and read up on what's really going on. Ask questions.
All praises. Like,
That's right. We become sluggard in even researching. We take the easy way out.
it's like it was brought out earlier. When we do that, we setting ourselves up for a failure. You don't stand for something, you don't fall for anything. All praises. Back to 1 Peter 5:5. In the same way, you younger ones, be subject to elders and gird yourselves with humility toward one another. For Elohim resists the proud but gives favor to the humble. Humble yourselves then under the mighty hand of Elohim so that he exalts you in due time. In when time? In due time. That's not always an immediate thing. That's why it's a faith, a patience, endurance. Here's the patience of the saints. Like, that's what this is about. We don't get days off. We don't get an opportunity to say, I was tired. No, endure to the end. That's what you get. It's only one way with the Father. Now, in the event that you do grow weary, cast your cares upon him, and he'll renew your strength. Again, it's some stuff I can speak on just from personal experience. I done it both ways. Like, I done took matters in my own hands and made a mess. And I done leaned on him, and he came through. So I done it both ways, and I done reaped the fruit from both sides of it. I can tell you which one is better. Casting all your worry upon him, for he is concerned about you. Remember how we talked about how fear, worry, all of those things might be the things that cause you to run to a stronghold. And a lot of times it's an irrational fear, right? Due to trauma or whatever else, right? Like, and that's just when we base our worldview based off of solely on our experiences. Like, our experiences is a very small vacuum of the whole of the matter. Our experiences can be, okay, well, I'm not going to forgive my akoti or my ak because I already know it ain't going to make no difference. Because every time that I forgave somebody in the past, they always did this. But then when we cross over into this walk, it's like, no, you very well might be surprised. If we all walking with the Father, you might be surprised. This is why we can offer, 7 times 70. That's why we can do that, because we know if the Father's hand is in it, things gonna get better. And he gonna hold us all accountable at the end of the day. But our trauma and our experiences might cause us to do what? Have a skewed sense of reality, and then we just run to the stronghold, cutting people off, right? Like, I'm gonna just cut you off. No, I don't have to. I'm gonna cut you off because I can't deal with the. But it's like, is that really what the Torah is telling us to do? Leviticus 19 lays it all out. Not bear a grudge against your brother. Like, love your neighbor as yourself. 7 times 70. Turning the other cheek. If somebody asks to go with you a mile, you walk with them too. Like, this is what his word is teaching us to do. And that's the truth. And nobody said that that is easy. Because if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. But do you have the faith and the belief that if you sow those seeds in righteousness, you're going to reap righteousness? If you're not able to look afar off, you're going to be just like Esau, sell your birthright for a pot of soup. So he says, humble yourselves then under the mighty hand of Elohim so that he He exalts you in due time, casting all your worry upon him, for he is concerned about you. Do you really believe that he's concerned about you? Do you really believe if you call out to him, he gonna hear and he gonna act? And he can make right any situation as long as everybody is doing what they ought to do in the situation. Like literally, we can rely on him with that, whether it be you on a job, whether it be whatever it is. Depending on him is always going to be the win. But if we stop enduring, we stop engaging in the war, in the fight, battle's already won by the enemy. He got us exactly where he wants us. It says, be sober, watch, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. What is he telling you to do? Don't wait for him to come, because when he pop up, it's too late. Be on guard and look, expecting him to come, because he's out there, whether you see him or not. You don't see the lion. That's what they do. They crouch, they hide, camouflage themselves, and they pounce in the opportune time. So whether you can see him out there or not, expect, he's somewhere out there in the grass. He's somewhere crouched down. Maybe he is or maybe he ain't, but expect it. One thing I can tell you, he don't take no days off. We sluggers, but he ain't. He on a mission. Resist him, firm in the belief, knowing that the same hardships are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. More incentive for you to keep pressing towards the mark. That vacuum makes you feel like, woe is me, I'm in this by myself. But the reality is you ain't suffering nothing that everybody else ain't suffering in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Everybody has something. And if that's the case and we all belong to the Father and he cares for all of us, and that means that when we're enduring it and when we're going through it, that must mean that he has a purpose for it. Maybe, just maybe, he's equipping you with what you might need so that you can help many more. Who can put a price on a soul? And if you can go through a trial so that you can save, who knows, walk, who knows, pull how many by the hand, 10, 100, 1,000. You don't know. Through that trial, and they can esteem the Father in the end of it. Now you've stored up great treasures for yourself in the Shamayim, just by you being patient and enduring. Keep on fighting a good fight. But when you don't gird the loins of your mind and expect to run into the battle, like this is another one of those things, like, y'all know what Torah says when they would go out to battle. I think it's what Deuteronomy 22, either 20 or 22. When they would go out into battle, and they had laws for, like, the priest would make the call and say, "Hey, is there anybody that has a wife at home, a new wife at home? Okay, newlywed, don't come out here. Go ahead, go back home. Is there anybody out here that's scared? Okay, go back home." Right? They letting you know beforehand, in this battle, you can only be of good courage. That's it. Once you gird up and you step on this battlefield, anything goes. So if you got any reservation and any reason to keep you from fighting a good fight, don't come out here. Because once you come out here, it's on and popping. Resist him, firm in the belief. Firm in a belief. Unwavering. If the truth is in you, you're going to be what? Firm. Stable. Because you're relying and leaning on the truth. But if you're leaning on a lie, something shaky to begin with, well, good luck. When the wave's going to come, and we'll see how the house stands.
of some of our forefathers, things that they went through, and they stayed steadfast. Because you take Joe, for instance, everything that he went through, the one thing Joe always said, the Messiah giveth and the Messiah take over the way. Blessed be the name of the Messiah. So no matter what he went through, he still kept leaning on the Messiah. He didn't care what it was, even when his wife and his friends, tried to tell him, just curse and be done with all this. He said, you must be a fool, because the Messiah he giveth and the Messiah taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Messiah.
All praises. Like, that's the kind of steadfast mind that we got to have. Because best believe, like, times ain't about to get no easier. That's for sure. It ain't about to get no more laxed. That is for sure. So gird your loins and get ready to suffer through hardships. And we just talking about on the easy hardships, like dealing with one another. We ain't even talking about like when the persecution really is coming. But you got to put that work in now of being able to deal with one another, because any event that does pop off in your lifetime, you're going to need to be all right with one another to be able to do that. You got to be able to trust one another. You got to be tried with one another in order to be able to do that. If you stand in the chance of sticking together then, like, this is just the reality of it. So it says, be sober, watch, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Resist him firm in the belief, knowing that the same hardships are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. And the Elohim of all favor, who called you to his everlasting esteem by Mashiach Yahushua, after you have suffered a while, before or after? After you've suffered a while. A while. Wilderness. Himself perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. So if fear was the thing that was causing you to want to run to the stronghold, keep enduring it. He's going to show out, as they say. He don't show you a reason why you don't have to run to that. And why leaning on him is better. You just got to endure. He'll show it to you. Only going to strengthen you. There's the old saying, what don't kill you only makes you stronger. Then it's going to settle you. You're going to start to notice that, oh, no, I'm not worried about that. I'm not shook because I done seen this. I saw that. It's David, right? Well, Goliath ain't nothing because, I ain't never seen a giant before, but I saw a bear. He ain't no worse than they are. I did that. They was nothing. Same result for this. To him be the esteem and the might forever and ever. So what did Peter just say about Hashatan? What are we supposed to do to guard ourselves against the threat of the lion? Be sober, watch, resist, remain firm in the belief, and remember that this threat is common to all men. And if this threat is common to all men, but what does Ecclesiastes say? Fear Elohim, keep his Torah, because that is something that's common to all men, right? So that means that no matter what we going through, it's still our obligation to gird up our loins, stay engaged in the battle. Because if keeping his Torah is something that's common to all of us, and the hardships are common to all of us, something tells me that this is a package deal. Keeping his Torah comes with the hardships. It just is what it is. Proverbs 22:13. We was talking about that lion, Hashatan, him being a lion, right? The lazy one says, there is a lion outside. I am going to be murdered in the streets. So he don't step out into the battlefield. He don't step outside. He stay put up in the house. He just ain't gonna do nothing. Stayed in his stronghold. Told her for that. Stayed in the comfort zone. No point in stepping out there. It's a lion outside. If I step out there, he gonna kill me. He never told you don't be outside, but what he did say was, when you out there, be sober-minded, be on guard, watch, because he's out there. But we can also say that if you resist him long enough and you put up a fight, he'll flee. He'll go about his business and wait again for another opportune time. And in between opportune times, gird yourself, prepare yourself, knowing that there's going to come another point in time where I need some strength and I got to call out to the Father. So we will return to this later if we have time, not today. Consider the old and young prophet. For now, consider this in yourself. Are there lingering issues that are unresolved, and what is preventing resolution? Is your reluctance to a sober mind giving room for Hashatan to have his way in you? Is this fueled by you retreating to your safe/comfort zone, also known as a stronghold? Just something for you to think about. All right. With that being said, shalom. Hebrews 4:11. Let us therefore do our utmost to enter into that rest, lest anyone fall after the same example of disobedience. For the word of Elohim is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even to the dividing of being and spirit and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all are naked and laid bare before the eyes of him with whom is our account. Hallelujah.
Praises. I just wanted to read Revelation 22, verses 14 through 15. Blessed are those doing his commandments, so that the authority shall be theirs into the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, and murderers, and idolaters, and all who love and do falsehood. So I always think to myself, like, the opposite of the kingdom is being outside. So the endurance part, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be inside or outside? And that's going to be your answer to if you're going to endure or fight the good fight.
All praises. Like, just to land back on that, like, it's just like we was talking about earlier. Like, if you don't see the goal, how easy is it going to be for you to drop the plow and look back? How easy is it going to be for you to tuck tail high in the face of the adversity? It's going to be easy. You don't have no incentive or nothing keeping you in it. But if you really believe and you really trust in him, and you trust and you know in your heart you have to believe, this truth has to be in your heart. No, I know if I endure, if I lean on him, he'll direct the path. If I lean on him, if I trust in him, acknowledge him in all my ways. Like, no matter how it looks and how shaky it looks, that was Abraham. It looked shaky for him many a times. That's Jacob. It looked shaky for him many a times. That's Moses. That's every person. That's David. That's every person. Mashiach. That's everybody that actually endured and stood the test of righteousness. Every last one of them had moments. Elijah, like the list goes on and on. They all had those moments where right there in front of them, it didn't look too hot. But they believed and they knew and they stood on business, on the Father's business, right? Like, they stood on it saying, no, even though this is happening, this is Daniel's friends, right? Like, even though we right here about to get thrown into the fire and did get thrown into the fire. But hey, even so, whether he will or he won't, we still not doing that. How much is the kingdom worth to you? You know, are you willing to keep putting up the fight? And is it worth enduring for? Or is it worth putting it to the side? Because he said anybody who's looking back What did he say? Not fit for the kingdom. They aren't worthy of him. Not only are they not fit for the kingdom, they're not worthy of receiving him. So really think about that. But yeah, I praises.
Hallelujah. Thank y'all for a beautiful message, lesson. Was there anything that stuck out to you individually from this message?
Shalom, y'all. I was sitting here thinking about if I was going to make this confession or not, because the word says we're supposed to confess our sin one to another. Um, maybe. I often just keep